Sanje Chodang Zojen Jonola Shanja Pato Dana Jabzum Dage Chiche Jebe Sonum Je Rola Penjo Sanje Rambo Sanje Chodang Zojen Jonola Shanja Pato Dana Jabzum Dage Chiche Jebe Sonum Je Rola Penjo Sanje Rambo Sanje Chodang Zojen Jonola Shangja Bada Dhamma Jabsam Je Daga Shenso Jebe Sonam Je Rola Penjo Sangjen Dramba Sho. Good evening, everyone, again. One more time. Second time. Everyone hear me? You hear okay?
Yes. Yes, Geshe-la.
Good. Are you guys exciting to meditation emptiness? Yeah. We all do a little bit meditation emptiness, okay? And then to Tony days gumga in that Tony gumsa.
All right, so we're going to meditate on emptiness for a little while, okay?
아니 다 돈이 검사데 간이라나 당간조 암조가 잡고 요래 미그 순동고 요래 나게 토마토 요래 젤레기 초반년가 요래 아니 수복이 초반년가 봐 제자 간제 주다 들어서 장아들 자야 되죠 제자 도저라지 나와 나지 다요 말에 다 드네 삼대 버렸어.
So how do we meditate on emptiness? Like we have 5 senses, right? The 5 sense consciousnesses, like the eye consciousness, ear, the eye consciousness sees the object, the ear hears the sound, the nose, smells the the odor, and then the tongue tastes, the food, and the body feels, the smoothness, the coarseness, and so forth, right? So all these, these objects, this appears to the sense consciousness. So just thinking that the objects of the sense consciousness that appear to the mind doesn't exist in a way they appear to us. Just thinking like that is what we, call meditating on emptiness.
And your 말에 something not do. There's some your 말다시.
So not thinking it does not exist. So if you think it does not exist, then of course that's mistaken.
제가 여에다 간저 미근 통고요래 암조 고요 초반년가 요래
So because it is there, therefore we can see it, we can hear it, right? Therefore definitely they exist.
이나 간졸라 나다다 오니가 코란이 요탄이 때든 자료 말. 당고도 디브라테 trude요 그래서.
So but the way they exist and the way they appear to us, doesn't accord with each other. So that's where we are kind of having trouble with.
Okay. 제당아도 죽동바 오동바니도 다 죽동바 옛날에 많이 주도 가려는 가르쳐다 대 말해서. 지난 대내서 야보지 하거나 아니 지난 그 우분에서 하고 지난 우분에서 하거나 아니 지난 게 아니 삼모다다 놀고 말해서. 그러니까 삼모다다 만원나 지난 걸 내가 놀고 말해. 내가 만원나 지난 걸 레두가 사고 말해. 레두가 마사나 아니 레두가 하고 말해서. 다 마무시셔서.
And so so what does it matter, whether the form is empty or not? Like we say form is empty, emptiness is form, and so forth, right? So what does it matter whether the form is empty or not? Of course, it doesn't matter in general, but the way we grasp the things as exist from their one side does matter, right? So if we see the things in that way, then we see it in a mistaken. So if we but if we see the things in a way they really exist, then our the way we think will be correct about them. So if the way we think is correct about them, then followed by that thought, the action that we engage in will be also correct. And then the action that we create by that thought creates the the imprint in our mind, right? So that would be also correct. And then therefore the result that is experienced from that will be also good one. So therefore it does matter to understand the reality.
어때지? 제가 두 전에 아니 원나 소소 나는지만 간대요나 먼저 나다다 오늘 나나지 여다디 네 제다 제다 체실라 때니까 네 저기나 먼저 때 나가요 말했어. 제다 다 뒤버든 죽대요.
So how does it exist, then how does it appear to us? So that may be the question, right? So the way it exists, is by depending on cause and condition, but that is not how it appears to us. So that's where the trouble is.
제가 안주가 아니 소소란 나요데 참말라 안에 다라 요래 삼바르고시 다라레 삼바르죠 단 삼고요레스 다테 노르데요라 그래서
So, but when it appears to us, it appears to us is if it exists by itself, by its own power, from its one side. So that is mistaken.
근데 다 소소 나나지 요 말에 섬 템베나 지제라고 찍더니 하나 죽다 저러지 차상 삼아 가지는 찍 나나지 요 말에 섬 대가라 삼었다네 지 수수 샘라 오늘 지 초안으로 지 동상그 초안을나 아니 동반이 사야 돼 거라고 그래서
So we can take any object, right? Any one of those objects. That can be an object of the eye consciousness or object of the ear consciousness. But just take one object and then think about that, as not existing in a way it appears to us. So when you think about that, it does not exist in a way it appeared to me. And then, so if it doesn't exist in a way it appeared to me, then it feels like it is not there at all. So it kind of feels like empty. So if you have that feeling of empty or absence of not being there, then you are getting some understanding about emptiness.
아니 요 말에 삼자는 지금 말 대ችን 삼에 말대 요 말은 그 노르고 그러봤어.
So if you think it doesn't exist, then that is mistaken, So you should not think it does not exist. If you think like that, then that's a mistaken.
제가 요 같이 나가나지 매같이 디바라듯이 샤고 다 대가도 샤고도 될라대로.
And so it does exist, but does not exist in a way it appears to us, right? So in between that, you have to be able to find something that exists, but that does not exist in a way it appears to us. So in between that, so you have to be able to find that.
오케이, 다 도생다. 도 전에 아니 다 남주 다 드링아도 지금 담보지나 아니 제금 전에 아니 소소라 나다다 아니 우유서 접단 걸로 삼로 따네 아니 타마도 다 소소 나나지 전문도 삼그라 아니 다랑 검되고 다 드링아도 테메같이 다랑 소소 나나지 요 말에 삼다때 되긴다.
So usually, it starts, with the analytical meditation by analyzing about the object. So it says, and how it exists in reality. What is its actual mode of existence? And how does it exist? And how does it appear to us? So we have to analyze about that and then come to the conclusion that it exists by depending on cause and conditions and parts and so forth. But it appears as not, depending on any cause and condition and so forth. So therefore, it does not exist in a way it appears to me. So you have to come to the conclusion after the analysis, and you have to come to that conclusion thinking that it does not exist. But we don't have to do that analytical meditation today. We just go straight, to the conclusion, thinking that whatever object that you choose, think about that object as not existing in a way it appears to us, or in a way it appears to you. So just think, on that. Just think. Just focus on that thought. That object that you are holding now as an object of your meditation is not existing from its own side.
Okay. Do you find any object? Anything? Anything from you? Okay. You don't have looking things. Yeah, whatever you have. Okay. We do like maybe a few minutes. Okay. Start now. Okay, it's not too long, otherwise you get lost. Anytime you can do meditation like that, okay? In order to do like, you mind, you keep like that, before usually you have to analytical meditation. Ha exists, Okay? Okay. Okay, do you have any questions for last week last class? Do you guys discussion? You guys debate? Okay. Do you have any questions? Okay, Jennifer.
In our discussion, it came up about the implicit meaning in form is empty and emptiness is form. The question from Shariputra to Avalokiteshvara about how a child of the lineage should train who wishes to practice the profound perfection of wisdom. It's so subtle, the idea that is supposed to be the answer is that the path of accumulation and the path of preparation. Like, I guess we were discussing it, Deborah and others in the group. What is it there? I mean, it just seems there's some very subtle clues that it applies to practicing on the path of accumulation and path of preparation, but it's certainly not obvious.
Which part you are saying that applies to the practice of the path of accumulation?
Okay, so
That's good. 담보 지나서 다 전도 인지가 다니나 가시 간소 의대 돈이랑 받아 배댕이 도저랑 받아니도 요래서 되게 다니데 가르쳤나 보나 전대 대선 거야 무슨 돈만이 시작이 요래서 이제 디 슈라 아니 샤접고 샘다 샴바다 니제다 아니 돈이 또 별로도 디 슈라 시작이 요래서 거기 요래서 시작이 요래서 배배틀라.
So that's the explicit, explicitly it teaches about emptiness, the profession of wisdom. So in general, we say the profession of wisdom, it explicitly teaches about emptiness, but implicitly it also explains, the clear realization. So which includes the method and aspect of the practice, and so that's where you have to understand that. Yeah.
답변은 단단하도 샤라니 보카레 가르스는 간소 람 반다 람가라야 냠내 제다 간레레 샤적고 셈 제외 강사 되게 아니 샤적 셈 제외 강사 되게 동반이 곰네 람냠내 제나 간지 제고레스 어쩌바데 특요레서.
So the question, by Shariputra is that the person who have, the part of the son or daughter of the lineage, so like the son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage. So when you say the lineage, it's the person who have ripened their mind stream, which means who have entered into the path. So those who have entered into the path, when they're in a path of accumulation and path of preparation, how do they practice? How do they practice emptiness?
다때선 아니 손놈과 가든 늘이 삼고 그러다 조놈과 가든 늘이 삼고 요래스 손놈과 내가 누스치 삼고 요래스 고놈과 내가 누스치 삼고 다디 시작이 요래스.
And so then it explains how do you think or meditate on emptiness during the path of accumulation, how do you meditate on emptiness during the path of preparation, how do you meditate on emptiness during the path of seeing and path of meditation and so forth like that.
제가 다 간지 아니 중거 아니 슈라다 슈텔라 요다 간지 슈텔라.
So that's in the implicit meaning.
Okay. 다 드네도 베나 당도 인지가 슈텔사 요래 주 요나면나.
요래.
다때 어때 인지가 슈텔네 될라고 그래 간지. 아니 무슨 동반이 간에 공고는 동반이 공개 되기 아니 주다도 좀 공부를 대 공개대 처럼 같은 거는 누스래다. 저런 거 내가 누스 공부래다. 어디다 삼고요. 왔어.
So you have to meditate on the emptiness of the form, sound and so forth. And so how do you meditate on emptiness of, of the form, sound, and so forth during the path of accumulation, during the path of preparation, path of seeing, and so forth?
다 존랑만 내가 간다 다 죽동바고 싶거나 죽도 죽대 아니 다거로 동바 인베게 진세 드제 때라 삼로타네 제금체네야 또 대체베가 아니 배샤2 배샤 아니 경에서는 nye 소수 녜니 또 아니 제금는 주고 그럴까로 투섬 가지 또 아니 부중해라 아니 다 제금체고 요래서.
And so when it says, form is empty, so the form is empty, how is the form empty? So you have to analyze about that. You do the analytical meditation on that. So during the path of accumulation, you gain a knowledge about it, from the teacher. You listen to the, listen to the teachings on emptiness, from a teacher, and then you do some contemplation on that. And like analysis, so you understand, you gain understanding of emptiness, from study and contemplation in the path of accumulation.
And tene gom jamneya o tangune zute rangi tremendo sambe susu samlachi karochi koano re ata taro chetomna anita jonam charo dela ani lando la gres.
And then after that, during the path of preparation, you have analyzed about it, and then you do the meditation on that, and so you gain some understanding of emptiness through meditation, and, and by meditating, and then but you haven't realized it directly, and you just gain some understanding. Oh, so you meditate on it, and then you say, oh, so this is what emptiness is. So you gain some understanding about emptiness through meditation. So that time, you are in the path of preparation.
Ani tene ba chene ani ta ngeshe nyebaina ngeshe kati nyebaina ani ta tholom charo gres.
And then through that meditation, when you come to realize, emptiness directly, then you have entered into the path of seeing.
O tujida ta tambongazo zuju pombola aja tene chowa dishira tene ma ani shenche chunye don kamchoje zatana ma pangin rogres.
And so, all these objects they use here, the form, and then 5 aggregates, right? So the first, starts with the aggregate of form, then you can start with the aggregate of feelings, aggregate of discrimination, and then, gradually there comes, all these other objects like the 12 sources and 18 constituents and so forth.
Okay. Ade ta chodo te chi yode chi de kando ta kondo chodo te shute sa da hamo da te re shedan te nazo chabo ke ting mares cha ngoni da zukton ba da
But you did understand about that, right? You did understand about the implicit meaning, right?
Yes, but only from the reading, because it's not quite obvious that when Shariputra asked the question, and then the response from Avalokiteshvara, unless you're to say that, it's not quite obvious that at that moment, Shariputra has basically, I guess, generated renunciation and bodhicitta, because if we're talking about the perfection of wisdom, then we would be talking about the Mahayana.
제가 등소도 샤리보 코랑 게 집거지만 시다 대다 대제 코랑 요메 계셔지마다 대대 된대게 냠내 징이 가디 가리체고로 해서 콜라바로스.
다들 내가 단다 가서 발신 수도는 샤라게 발신 수도는다 다 대바신 걸 고고 알았어.
야야야. 인데.
응고수 때문에 도와서 되나다.
제가 응수도 고고 말때인데 배댕이 또 저는 봐서 또 아니 단다 진대 대선 거라다 슈를 때셔요. 간지 배는 때요. 그래서 and nguso ane lam gomya ge yedete te gomye ge yichete shula ko yores and gom go na su gom go lo kare go na tholam go gom go tholam gom go res.
Yeah, so of course it's not clear, and that's why you said there's an implicit meaning. So that's what we have to understand, which is not there clearly. And then it's of course, starting from the ornament of clear realization, you understand that there is a implicit meaning, and which explains the method aspect. And so here it doesn't talk about the 5 paths, during the path of accumulation, what you practice, and so on. Those are all explained in the implicit meaning.
배차잖아 산이 강자바나 나도 산이 강데 쌈마 소고래 나와이나 디쇼라야 아싸마 송이 요와 하고요레스 쌈마 수소고도 코 잘로도 고대요 와서 소고와이다 송이 요 고요레스 되나오시다.
So like said, there's going to be a snowfall tomorrow, and we say, okay, we the driveway or the area has to be cleared, of the snow, cleared of snow. And then when you say that, that's explicit, right? So clearly you have said that, but then implicitly you have to understand that there's somebody who's going to be coming to, clear. It's not said that there will be somebody coming to clear, but when you say it has to be cleared, then you and implicitly you know that there's somebody who's going to come in. If there's nobody, then how can you get it cleared, right? So when you tell us that it has to be cleared, and it shows that there is somebody who's going to come and clear it.
제다다 우유네드가 동반이 등에서 동이는 돈놈을 왔어. 대도발에 ting에다 대시도 도고 그래. 대도발에 ting에다 아니 두중 샤랍도 깨고 그래. 제다 콜람도 두고 그래.
So the direct realization of emptiness happens only in the path of seeing, right? So before that, before you gain the direct realization, you have to have the realization in the manner of meaning generality. And even in order to have that understanding, through the manner of meaning generality, you have to have heard about it or studied about it, and contemplated about it. So that's why all this, stages of the path comes into that.
Okay, like that. Okay, now that's good. 다 강도 샤라님보다 강도 갈래인다. 다 강도 담보 누수인다. 담보 리지 세대다 로지된 바 샤라님보다 가네가네 수 고와레 가디 고와레 가와네 고와레 등도 리지데 가다 납사인 바.
And so for the Heart Sutra, it starts with the introduction, right? So who heard it, where did they hear it, and when he heard it, and all this is explained in the introduction part, right?
아니 텔라 강사서에서는 아니 산지 좀 된데 그 직칭한도 하고 아니 셰레서 그 니치 아니 샤리프가 소미요레스 다 대섬데 요레스 아니 건가오다 다 셴바도 뭐 요요레스.
And so who are the people there during that time when this perfection of wisdom Heart Sutra was taught? And so of course there's a Buddha there, right? So we know there's a Buddha, and there was Avalokiteshvara, there was Shariputra, and then there was others like Ananda and so forth.
제자가 아니 산지 좀 된데 다 곰잡니 슈대요. 냐면 파드나 셰타기만 곰잡니 슈대요. 그래서.
So the Buddha, Shakyamuni is in absorption, right? In absorption or meditation. So he's not, talking or anything, but he's just sitting in the meditation there.
아니 다 산지 좀 된 시간 아니 셰레드야 다 나지 소대 아니 도시 곰잡 슈대요. 그래서.
So inspired or blessed by the Buddha, then there's Avalokiteshvara also sitting there, in the same kind of absorption.
아니 대조 다 셰레스 아니 바나 샤리프라와 샤리프 신질랍네야. 다 콜라 저와트추가 신질랍 용 그래서.
상기요.
상지가.
So the Buddha also blessed Shariputra to ask this question.
그래와 아니 빼셔나 아니 천안이 가르고 바나 셰리들 저런 거 가르고 거요레스. 저런 공부하는지 저런 거 가르치면 다 돼요. 저 가르고 되나? 아니 죽동바 동반이 저 가르 동반이 곰돼요스. 다 동반이 하나 동반이 가르고는 아니 담보 죽동바고 동바 죽등 동반이 곰고 그래서 다 저한테 저기로 랜드 어떻게 거 봐.
And then so how do you then so the question from Shariputra comes say asking how do you meditate on the Professional Wisdom Sutra, right? So how do you meditate on Professional Wisdom? So those sons and daughters of the lineage, how do they meditate on Professional Wisdom? And then so Shariputra asked the question, and then Sheresi or Avalokiteshvara gives the answer by starting with the form is empty. So that's the detail or the extensive explanation that starts with the form is empty and so forth.
제가 워낙 당번에 수라고 하나 수세대 가서 가디나 당 가서 그냥 가서 홍보를 하대요. 가서 미근 통화에 와 라파가 해야 요와 인자 가서 테스트레라 콜 삼당 듣고 그래서.
And so first, starts, with the object, the form, because the form is something obvious, right? We can see with our eyes, and we can even touch with our hands and so forth. So that's a little bit easier to understand, so that's why we use the object form for the beginners.
대양 변나 단단 테레비 쉐바나 탑 돈자고직 잘라도 도도제나 kudu papa tsayena ko kanji chuchu mambo지는 연구였다. kanji 테레비 사와 간다 컨택 플렉스다. 가로 컨택 페스 뭐 도제 대도 직발에 따티 직발 거 되는데 없삼담이 그래서.
Then the form itself, like a solid form, or the object, whatever kind of object it is, the solid form. Even that, when you break it down, it breaks down, to like particles, right? And then so this form, the solid, sizable form that you see, it's a collection of all these particles. So that's how the scientists also explain, right? What they call that quantum physics. They explain about how this, all can be separated, into particles, and then how all these particles are coming together, creates this form and so forth.
Okay, that 좋아서 샤리브가 리지봉다 배나 아니 샤적의 샘 곰네 아니 동반이 곰고고도 삼게도 저거다 동반이 간지 곰고래스 아니 저와디 제바갈라야 아니 주동바고 동반이래 가로 포몽아워테 라지 동반나면 안 되죠. 저대 포몽아워테 라지 아니 마트베 시고래스와 하고고래스와
And so that's when Shariputra asked that question, right? So how do
뭔가 대다자란지 동반나면 안 되죠.
so
봉봉하고 대다자란지 동반나면 되다고. 근데 티질라 주동바고 동반에서 설레그러. 제셰트.
order. So then on the Shariputra tiade jema들도.
딩을 치티더라봐.
그래.
지제베깔라 텔라야 렌디디데 포몽하고 대다자란지 동반나면 되다고. 다 렌디디 자와시. 다 제오전 안에 주동바고 동반에서 이마요. 제오된 거로.
So it says like that. So the Shariputra anyway asked the question. So whichever so it's Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a child of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound profession of wisdom? So it's sort of like somebody like the child of lineage, he's referring to like the in this case like the Mahayana. So those who have generated bodhicitta, and then after that, when they want to meditate on emptiness, and how do they practice how do they practice, or how do they meditate on emptiness or the profound profession of wisdom? And then Avalokiteshvara said, whichever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of the profound profession of wisdom should look perfectly like this, subsequently looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five ergas also. So then he just like mentioned like whole five ergas also, not just mentioning like form, a form or a feeling and so forth, but just the whole. So this is the abbreviated or in a short explanation about the Professional Wisdom Sutra. In summary, he gave this the whole professional wisdom practice, in short, for especially for the sharp faculty practitioners.
Okay, 되지. 다 오늘 들으시고 보면 다 간다네. 두치고 다 티가라 티가네 봐 공부는다. 다다 처럼게 내가 같은 도도 다 제보셨나. 주동바고 동바니에서 동바니를 주시면 대신에 초와던데 지금 동바고 세야 돼. 다 처럼도 전화내가 간디 공부를 해서 다 근데 저들이스 랜드 다 좋아하면 다 랜드다.
And then after that, he says that form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness, and so forth. So that, from there, that starts the extensive explanation. So in the extensive explanation, then, when he's talking about the form is empty, right? So talking about the emptiness. So then you meditate on emptiness like this, like on the emptiness of form. So how do you meditate in the path of accumulation? How do you meditate? How you meditate on path of accumulation? How you meditate on path of preparation? How you meditate on path of seeing? How you meditate on path of meditation? So this is how Avalokiteshvara answered in an extensive way.
Okay. 단데 곰다데 촌놈도 존랑이 갈려가다 단데 촌놈도 존놈 끝나고 내가서 zul하자치 다 zu당 초바단 대신 넘버 10만 자데 아니 촌놈도 존놈 끝나 갈려고 그래서
And so this one actually, the form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not in the form, form is not in the emptiness, is actually, explained for the path of, accumulation and path of preparation.
대전도 초바단 대신 넘버 10 대치바레스 대강가 치바레스.
And so in the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition factors, and consciousness are empty. So those are all same as the form. So just like you contemplated on the form, you should have to contemplate, with regards to the emptiness, how you contemplated on form, you should, contemplate in the same way on the other aggregates.
다 주똥바고 주똥바니 공개돼 서래서나 아니 조남바리 스타티 잘한테 고거다.
And so the form is empty. So who is the one who is meditating on the emptiness of form? So on the back, implicitly you have to understand that it is the practitioner on the path of accumulation and practitioner on the path of preparation.
다 오나 야무나 대고 되면나 아니 베나 죽베나 똥바 주가 돈이라피 다 투주가 영화 때문에 가나 존엄라 그래서 대라 검주가 영화 때문에 나는 존엄사디 차로 그래서 아무나 저한테 레데고 그래서.
And so if that is not easy to understand, then so when on the emptiness, when you develop understanding of emptiness, through through the wisdom of study, or hearing, then that time you are in the path of accumulation. And when you gain the understanding of emptiness, through the wisdom rising, from meditation, that time you have gained or enter into the path of preparation.
Okay, 다 니가 다 고도도로 가려는 가지 니네 가서 아니 천타다 땅타 니가래 자와디다 고고 그래서.
And so in here, what you have to also understand is that this is free. When you say form is empty, emptiness form, and that's free from both extremes: the extreme of nihilism and nihilism, and an extreme of eternalism.
제자 주라지 변나 주타발잖아 땅가 주고군다 주라지 잡아대 아니 땅타레스.
So, like for example, in the case of the form, if we see the form as existing inherently, then you are seeing that then you are falling into the eternalism.
아니 주라지 마타나 메도와디 체다레스.
And then thinking that if the form doesn't exist inherently, then it doesn't exist at all. Then that is falling into the nihilism. And so this is according to the Prasangika Madhyamika's view. And so below the Prasangika Madhyamika school, all other schools are falling into the extreme of eternalism, because they're all thinking that the things exist inherently. And so the first two schools, like the Vaivashika and Sautantika, they accept the things, they accept the form to exist truly, right? And then above them, the mind-only school and the Savatantika Madhyamika school asserts the form to exist inherently.
어제다 다 네가 간에 쭉 동바고 색 동바니 쭉 동바니래 저 주제 마에 넣어서 네가 쭉 동바고 색가야 간제 아니 땅달에 간제 토르 그랬어 쭉 동바고는 쭉 라제 때문에 동화래서 고기요 대거다 간제 땅다 생도 그랬어.
So when you understand the form to be empty, so when you say form is empty, so that means like form is empty of inherent existence, and when you understand that, then you are free from the extreme of eternalism.
간제 쭉 라제 때문에 랑을 들어가 요 말에 에세트마나 아니 쭉 라제 때문에 동화래서나 아니 간제 땅다데 생각을.
So when you say the form is empty, form is empty of inherent existence, then you clear the extreme, of eternalism.
이제 zugraji tipate 땅다라자 대요마르나 그 땅다 생각을 was.
So the form existing inherently, is the eternalism. And when you say that the form doesn't exist inherently, then you clear, you eliminate, that eternalism.
다 원나 요 말에서나 요래 동반이 즉소서말 아니 젠다 생각을 했어.
And so there is there a form then? Then is there no form then? And so no, there is a form. It says then when it says the emptiness is the form, when it says emptiness is the form, then that eliminates the extreme of nihilism.
제다 라지지 집에 동외 나라서 나탐지 숙대 다른 아니 수레 들어와.
And so that that form that appears to us, which is empty of inherent existence itself, is empty of inherent existence itself, is the form.
오케이. 아니 다 나진 게 아니 숙동보고 동반이 동반이래 주제마이노 가로 숙동보고 동반이 주소 동반이래 자 주제마이노 줄에 동반이 제자가 죽래 죽 내려서 죽동바데 가지 샤에 말에 동반이 내려 죽 그 가지마 간제 죽동보고 동반이 주소 동반이래 주제마이노 죽 라지 이트베 동아 대래 아니 한 죽세 도도 가지 샤에 말이지.
And then it says emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. So that's saying like the emptiness of the form, is the form. Emptiness, the emptiness of the form that's merely imputed as a form is the, is the form. And so there's no other form you can you can posit and other than that. And then the same with that form is emptiness and emptiness not other than form, and form is also not other than emptiness.
제다 안에 죽 아니 말 죽 동바고 동반이 죽소잖아 아니 라지 집에 동화 대 죽래 성자말라 라지 집에 동화 대 죽래 성자말라 주 요와데 고용 거죠. 주 요와 konda 아니 제다 세로 가지.
So then say that form that is empty of inherent existence is the form. When you say when that is the form, you understand that form, then that eliminates the extreme of nihilism.
다 노동으로 지나 가지 되게 가르고나 네가 가다 가라고나 도박하거나 땅다다 체다지 세로 그래서 되고 그래서.
And so in short, what you have to understand here is that with these two, you have to understand that it eliminates the extreme of nihilism and eternalism.
아니 다는 줄라 미비가 나 땅다다 첸다 초와라 미비 땅다다 첸다 대신 이제 넘버 쉐바 강가라 미비 땅다다 첸다 세로 그래서.
And so all the extreme of nihilism and eternalism, extreme of eternalism and nihilism, with regards to the form, and then with regards to the feeling, with regards to the composition factor, and then with regards to this discrimination and consciousness and so forth.
오케이. 다 도도로 되래. 다시다 내일마다 제시지나 mambu시에 저와도 마모도 다 간지 도도가만 군입사리셔. 간지 주 갈아야 고야 보지라나 아니 지그 돈에 가야 받는 근지 돈에 강가를 파 뺏기는 거래. 근데 초와단 드신데 여러와. 대신도 초와단 드시단 남버시 뭐 동보던도.
So that is what it is in short, So of course, we can go into detailed explanation if we go extensively on that. But in short, that is what it is. Then, so once you understand about the emptiness of the form, then you can apply to the other areas, the emptiness of the feeling, emptiness of discrimination, composition factor, consciousness, and so forth. So when you understand one emptiness, then you can apply that to the others.
다 텔라 동바 지조라 그래. 사모 지조라 그래. 탄예자도 도스 그래서.
And so this is called the fourfold emptinesses. So form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. So this, it's called the fourfold forms. So fourfold emptiness.
Okay, 다 네가 가나 소남 그네 가서 아니 또 tuksamgi and chebache. Jolong Nagata and a gomju no.
And then, so you also have to understand that during the path of accumulation, and you gain understanding through the study and contemplation. And then in the path of preparation, you gain experience through meditation.
Okay. That gomjavata, that do gomjavalabana, chance with an HM Papena. Jalan Dedo, Pendrajina, that Pendicani, Tumdu Samayana. And then Namjung out of Bena, Tanangadu, and also Dembatran, Hungary, Hungary, Haku, Maran, to Shingo Mares.
And so now, when you do the meditation on emptiness, then you think about any object like a pen or something in front of you. Think about that object and then see how it exists. So how does it exist? Does it exist, by itself, by its own power, or through depending on something else, and so forth. So it to us it appears as existing truly, but we don't even realize that it's appearing as existing truly. We don't even realize that.
I want to Dembatra, one and Nagawa, cutting with some Nazobana, some Jabana Pena. Chara Michigan Kondo Shuji sign a medicine Dudana, take out the meeting Namjuda Mada in Hungary. That take out Rajita, tasting on the 2 days.
So when do we see it? When do we really, when do we see that, we are, when do we find out that we're seeing that object as existing inherently or truly? So usually when we have very strong emotions manifesting in us, like when you are very angry at somebody, then you see that person like existing from his one side, truly from his one side.
So be challenged or middle like show Ghana. Show Ghana take up the Koraji to Nagawa, that's totally. Take out some of Yawatan and one in Nagawa, not Kogus.
So, and then also same with the other objects, like the attractive objects. When you see something very attractive or somebody that's very attractive to you, and when you are so attached to that person or to that thing, and it appears as existing from its one side. Of course, if you don't know at all about that, then you won't know. But when you have heard about it, then that time you will see it a little bit. You will see that it's existing from its one side.
Okay. One of the Trevor, that too many Gomna Caripanger, the child of Trevor, that Gono saw the Gomna Caripanger.
And then what is the benefit of meditating on emptiness? This complicated emptiness.
Yes, Nanzuki, Kadena Susugo Samanaji, Susugo Toanaji, some Tela Chapa Shuchimbojet, Kaji Tig. Kono take chen and so to telling out Shawashuni cutting out to Tamado or the was.
So because of this mind thinking that things do exist in a way they appear to us, right? And so when you are attached to something, then you think that, oh, this is existing the way it appears to me, or existing inherently or truly like that, And then because of that, then your attachment becomes very strong towards it. And then with that, you create an action, karma. And then from there, then you experience the result in the suffering and so forth. So that all this comes from not understanding or seeing the things in a mistaken way.
Kuma Jangero. Kuma Jangi de Cardana, Kuma Jaya da Korangi Kaji Tabi Yasho, Korangi Gangi say Tabi Yasho, the Koran Tongoyores.
So like, for example, for a thief, the best way, the best method, to overcome his problem, of poverty or starvation and so forth, is to steal, right? And so even though there is a danger, risk, and so forth, but still, he finds that that's the best method. Method to gain something, so he goes into that action of stealing.
Oda counter and to Tombani Kolaya Samo Yabo, Suzujela and Zamba Shuchando, Suzujela and Zumba. Suzujela and Zumba Kasi Shu Chova Samji and Suzula Kaji Mete Tabja Yungur.
And so therefore, if we meditate on emptiness, more you meditate on emptiness, and the less grasping there will be. So if there is a less grasping, then everything will become very easy in our life.
Pena Charangi Pena Takarunde. Karingos. Then get chance of Serkin Trevor and look each other Serkin Trevor.
So if I tell you that this is a golden mala, will you believe it?
Kashi Yichewaja, then it's over. I chose a Kishella second Trevor, Yori, some chose a test that you know the chamber, I did the 10 meter terror.
So this is like a yellow color or gold color, and I tell you that this is a golden rosary. And then you might believe, right? You might believe. So then you will think that, oh, Geshe has a golden rosary.
Something like Kaji, they golden my baha mo by the chair, they or something was Kaji Ichewa.
So if you believe that, then you will think that he has a gold mala, right? Gold mala, until you find out that it's not a gold. Until then, you will have that belief, or you will have that grasping, thinking that this is a gold mala.
Cheta Ganzo Tanda Raji Tabangazo Zongi and Nago, Teta Raji Mataba, Susan Naji Maiba Kadi, Hakoyana, Naji Imban Zembilo to Koramewachado, Koran Raju Kormendo.
So that's what you believe, and that's what you're holding in your mind, right? That's what we call the grasping. And you're grasping at as is being gold, But in the same way, like, when things appear to us, it appears as existing from its own side. And that's what we think, and that's how we grasp at the things as existing from their own side. And until we realize that, we'll be always grasping that, grasping on those things as existing from their own side.
다 오면은 지나서 소속을 빼는 미가산 소속은 남지 야가 그 지나라야 가르고다 가지 잘라 니 지오주 거리요스 문에 고야데 코 야부터라 매와지나 그 지나 메시지 따니 다주 잘라데 만라바 빼니 슈주 거리요스 지나 메시지 따와이나 다주 잘라도 먼저 봐도 다티 요거래 섬네 조텔 잡아쇼에 다티 para 라안로 얘네만아 지차로나 섬네 에니 셈추 나도 잡아차대 가 봐들.
So, for example, like if your very close friend, sends you a text message saying that I have courier, a very precious, very good thing to you. I have sent a very very good thing to you. So when he has told you that, then your mind is, oh, must be very precious. Must be very precious, must be very expensive and so forth. So in your mind, you'll be always thinking about that. Oh, when it's going to arrive, is it on the way or not? Has it got lost or not? Like you'll be always thinking about that.
아데 좀 먼저 와자 라와이나 아니 다추 세나 슈쇼라 잘라 텐데 야부지 그 한절 마소상 주 잡아도 저 나가 말아.
And so because you have this very strong attachment, right? And let's say you got lost and it never reached you, then you'll be so unhappy, right? Since, you feel very lost, You'll be, saying, oh, I lost that thing, that was so precious, like you will have so much strong grasping at it, and you'll feel very miser, right? Miser about that.
제가 다당아도 똥바님 맞도와인자 안가도 jel라니 다 좀바 슈침보요 따와 슈침보요 그래서 똥바님 또나tin 따와 슈침보 좀바 슈침보도 라도 그래서 매워잖아 그래서.
And so, because we have not realized emptiness now, therefore we have this strong view and strong grasping. But once we realize the emptiness, then that strong grasping and view, thinking that that's how things are, will be gone.
와야 다들 도도 가린다 다들 막 가린다 간제 애니 샤리포도 셰리즈가 나 트바텔이지 간제 초람도 졸라가 내가서 똥바니 가리지는 곰고그레스 트바티니 애니 되게 랜드 파자와티 고고요레스.
And so in short, what you have to understand here is that there is a question answer between Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra. So Shariputra asked the question, how should a bodhisattva on the path of accumulation and path of preparation should meditate on emptiness? And then you have to understand this is what Avalokiteshvara said. You have, you understand about emptiness, and in this way, on the path of seeing, path of accumulation, and in this way on the path of preparation.
안에 대리가 안에 똥바니에서 죽사대 랑시 마트바 인사레에서 고원님을 갈라 촌놈레스 안에 텔라칭 내셔도 가로 텔테스 두중 고원도 니베 갈라야 근데 인사레 삼삼 갈라야 안에 촌놈레스 안에 타치는 거다 다가라 렌두스메 안에 갈라 안에 좀놈 차도레스 오다 텔라바레스.
And so, like when you gain understanding about emptiness through hearing, through study and hearing, and that's when you are, and that's in the path of accumulation. You're in a path of accumulation, and then when you gain some understanding, through meditation, more understanding through meditation, then you are in a part of preparation. And when you understand it directly, then you are in a part of seeing. So that's what you have to understand. This is what the answer is from Avalokiteshvara. And what is the result, of understanding this? The form is emptiness is form, is that you will be free, and you'll be free from the extreme, of eternalism and nihilism.
Okay,
so that's about it for the part of preparation and part of accumulation. Okay, so next we're going to go to the part of seeing. And so during that time, there's this eightfold emptiness. And so the eight emptinesses are explained, in relation to the three emancipations. And so that's the three door of emancipation. So the first one is the emptiness. Because So first, the door, to the emancipation, is understanding emptiness.
And number go tema mepas.
And then the tema mepas.
Number go tema melanda kaje.
Tema yomar. And then the first one is the emptiness, and then the second one is the signless. Sign, like the signs, marks, signless.
아니 다나지간 담아대 아니 남바토베 고 문밤에 받나 아니 단 레벨하자 그래서.
And then the third one is the result, the ripening.
아니 어두시 다 대라 아니 동반이 제자 그래서.
And so these three are explained, with the eight emptinesses.
아니 다들 샤리바 대답은 주담 동반 예대 대지 그래서.
And then so it starts with right. So Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty. So all phenomena are empty. So that's the first emancipation.
제가 안에 추탐주지 뭐랑을 잡아요 말에서 동반 예대 대치셔 말에서.
And then without the characteristics, yes, without characteristics, so that's another one.
What is? And Mama 대동벌 주동도 아니 되네 되지라 제니에 받아 지지 마체 받아 니지 망가 받아 숨 점마에 받아 시 점마다 자와에 받아 가로 지지 아니 자와에 받아 아니 강와에 받아 어떻게 되게 되는 거래 되게.
And so the first one is empty, right? So the consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty. So that's the first one. Without characteristics is the second. That is, they are not produced and not they are not produced and do not cease. Sumbachera, Magyada Megawa.
마체바드 찍지 망가바드 니바 담보드 동반이
Makeba, Magawa. So the first one is empty, second one is the without characteristic, third one is not produced, and the fourth one is do not cease, right? And then they have no defilements. And the fifth one, no separate from defilement. Sixth, they have no decrease, 7, and no increase, 8.
Okay?
Okay, you got the 8?
안 된 대신 자가 맞아. 다오는가 틴데라지 자가 마 틴데식 잠 샤샤 만들어. 근데 아니 추탐 추역에 아니 오 동반이 해야 돼. 담보 동반이 추탐 동반이 돼야 돼.
So the first one is the empty, right? Should we go into detailed explanation on this? Or maybe just do the word explanation, right? Word explanation. So first one is empty.
이번엔 테니메 받다 제당 죽다터로 소소 수준 테니 아니 쇼좀 테니 롱으로 테니 the das lapchores. Yena yang, and thinny tabayo mares.
So then there's the empty. So you understood about emptiness. So we already talked about empty, the empty of an inherent existence and so forth, right? And then the other one, then the next one it says is without characteristics. So everything has a character, right? And it has everything has like definitions or something to define it, that characteristic of that an object. But it says without characteristic means like without inherent characteristic or true characteristic, truly existing characteristic.
And it's that Zuson, the Chunam, and Tanya the Javatam Yoris, and Raji Javayo mares.
And then and that is they are not produced, right? They are usually produced, right? So all the impermanent phenomena are produced, but not produced inherently.
And Tanya Tanam and the Chunam and Javadam Gaba Tanya Tam the Yordana Raji Javadam Gabayo mares, Manga Basetro.
And so the production and and cessation, they all exist merely. Nominally, right? Nominally, they all exist nominally, but not inherently.
다 나중에 any caro 마치 망가봐. 처음에 때 아니 고발하자. 고발도 유모하자. 근데 유모도 장 아니 랑운이 랑지 잡아요 말이지.
And then says that they have no defilements, right? So defilements are the delusions, right? We do have defilements and delusions. There are defilements and delusions in the samsara. But there's no inherently existing defilements.
아니 근데 저마다 자외게 아니 냥을인데 냥을 가로 냥대고 공부 대양 아니 랑지 잡아요 말이지. 저마다 잡아매스.
And then there's no separation from defilements, like so like we can be separated from these delusions and eventually achieve a state of full liberation, right? And a full enlightenment or liberation. But here saying there's no separation from defilement inherently.
다 나중에 아니 묘모도 내차지다 뜨물어서 아니 라지 대비 아니 자와요 말이지. 간지 말 춘로요 말. 라지 대비 춘로요 말이지. 자와매 봐서 돼. 아니 라지 대비 아니 춘로요 말세로 고도 자와요 말이지.
강화매 왔어요.
강화 자와매 봐.
자와 가서
자와매 봐.
디바서 막 용도요 말.
막 용도 라지 대비 용도요 말이지.
And then there's also they have no decrease. So inherently, they cannot decrease inherently. They have to decrease by depending on cause and conditions, like that. So there's no inherently decreasing.
아니 다 가면 된지가 네번 남조 속에 있는 고람라서 들어야 아니 라지 특히 야 야진도요 말이지. 강화해 봐서.
And then all this, the results, of the path of meditation and so forth, cannot be increased. So they can the knowledge, and the realization of those paths cannot be increased inherently.
제자 아니 저와매 봐다 아니 강화매 봐서 되는 레벨이거든. 레벨인데 아니 나바테고 멤버매 봐서 되고 고고 될자고 그래서.
And so these two, there's no decrease and no increase, is is referring to the result, the ripening result, and and then so the among the three, the emancipation related with the result, so it's that one, third one.
아니 디칼라 아니 다 당보대 아니 나바테고 동반이 해서 되자 그래. 아니 당보들이 해서.
And then the first one is the empty, right? And the empty, all comes in factors. So like all phenomena are empty. So when you say phenomena empty, that's the first the emancipation related with the empty.
아니 디바라다 땅가라 되르스. 아니 테님에 봐 맞지 봐 망가 봐 점마메 봐 점마나 자와메 봐 땡아데 아니 점마메 봐서 되고 그래서.
And then there's those five, right? There's the five in between. Without characteristic, not produced, not ceased, no defilement, and no separation from defilement. So those five are the signlessness.
Okay. 다 남주야 시다 심바라 당보대 남바테고 고추담저 동반이 아니 랑지 마타바레 치고 그래서 동반이.
So that's the first one is the empty. That's the door, of the first door of emancipation.
아니 데네 티니바달라 아니 제트마 제 데바트 참아 깨와메 봐서 고고 그래서.
And then there's
반난 생님 봐 마치 봐 망가봐 토마토 tel라 아니 줄자 그래서 줄. 니빠네가 두빠바.
this one with Juller, huh?
강가 줄자.
So the second emancipation, the signlessness emancipation, the door of the emancipation is all referring to the cause, So the without characteristic, not produced, not ceased, and not defilement, and not separation from defilement are all causes.
And then 타만이든 레벨하자 그래서.
And then the last two are the results.
아니 뇨모백은 레벨까지 다 둥아로 왔다 둥압다고요. 아니 라지트비 마충로요 말이지. 뇨모바 빠베 빠와 고델람데서 대양 아니 라지트비야 체리아 칸로요 말이지.
So the decreasing and no decrease and no increase, right? So the delusions, with the delusion, so they can decrease, right? But there's no inherently decreasing. And then by eliminating those delusions, you can increase, in your realizations and knowledges and so forth. But there's no inherently increasing like that.
어제 던지 전에 다 나당아도 줄라두 전에 아니 강다 다 강다 로와메 봐 같이 두 전에 랑시 메베기 시와였나 아니 제라 강가라 주탐주라 동보 랑시 마치베들 다네 랑시 머니베들 다네 랑시 가야메가 야보 시와였나 아니 동반이라 고와라게 단데 돈하고까지 공부요레스 근데 나는 돈하고까지 공부요레스.
And so if you understand this, so earlier, right, when you understand about the form being empty, that you understand that how the form is empty and emptiness form, then you can apply to this to the others, And then through that understanding, when you come to know this, the 8 fold emptinesses, and in with regards to the 3 doors of the emancipation, and then you will understand emptiness more directly here, and so these are meditated on the path of seeing.
Okay, it's good enough. Yes, Jennifer.
I just had a clarification on the third emancipation. I've heard that translated as wishlessness. Is that correct?
Yeah, telagre 위치라들라나 아니 가자노 아니 덴바트베기 드레버데 아니 덴바트베 뉴모 빠베가 아니 레바메바 덴바트베가 안 드레버 토베가 아니 다 레바메바는 올랍죠 그래서
Yeah, you can use that too. That's a different term in Tibetan also. So like that we call the debu is the result and ripening result. Debu member, and then the Mamba means like to wish, so not having any wish. So the result, is the wish, right? So you wish it and then you gain it, right? So it's very similar, yeah.
간제 덴바트베기 아니 뇨모다 빠텀나 삼베기 텐데사바요 말레스 덴바트베기 아니 남조쇼도 톰나 삼베 무바 아니 요 말레스 테네로 따요 말레스 버와.
So that cannot be a wish, to eliminate or decrease, the inherently, there cannot be a wish, to inherently decrease the delusions, and there cannot be in a wish, inherently increase the realizations.
네 빠자는 빠 고군도 네 토변의 토고군도 삼바데다 꾸접자마다 타니 하나랑 들어가요 말해서 뭐 되는지는 못 봐매 봤어.
And so he says, yes, the delusions has to be decreased and the realizations has to be increased, but they cannot be increased or decreased. The realizations cannot be increased inherently or truly, and delusions cannot be decreased inherently or truly.
Okay. 단 내려가네 가래 내릴 때는 가래 고도나 간지 소소 그 지금 암조 고와이나 묵은 도와이나 간지 아니 랑은은 맞아와인바 아니 랑은은 트베 아니 지금 징저가다 때 매와인바 아니 랑은은 트베 아니 뇨모 빠야 매와 랑은은 트베기 아니 가로 람 토야메 봐 어떤지 고고 그래서.
And so from this one, what you have to understand is that there's all the phenomena are empty, and they cannot be produced inherently, or they cannot be ceased inherently. They cannot decrease the delusions, from its one side by itself inherently, and you cannot increase the paths and realizations inherently.
제가 받은 대비가 강강 깨라 라 레베 대대 라지 지동까지 제가 깨라 되는 라 레바인다 라지 동아레스 라지 동아베 제젤라 깨라 라 레바데 지고로 봐.
So that's why in the Chandakirti said, whatever depends on the cause and condition are empty of inherent existence. So because they depend on cause and condition, therefore they are not existing inherently.
오케이. 다 된데 콜라야 다 룬도 리파다 디제도 다도 뭐보야 단도 강가 로나 촌도 고니 와서
So there's so many explanations, to about this. There are many many quotations, many logical reasons, that is provided, to prove this.
오케이. 제가 딱 디칸라 아가네 초조가 내가서 가르코래. 간지 따지진 타니네 세바데 고고노와.
And so anyway, about this, what you have to understand during the path of accumulation and path of preparation is that, you eliminate those two extremes, the extreme of nihilism and extreme of eternalism.
아니 돈하고 내가서 아니 라지 TV 깨와 가바 네바 지바메바데 고고레스.
And during the path of seeing, there's no production, no cessation, no decrease, no increase inherently.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, if you don't have questions, you chanazo kaje tanda ti kore chanazo susu padin reshe japchida yante seon rogore throwa.
So then maybe you can do your one discussion in your among yourselves. It may also become easier or more become more clear for you.
Yeah, because I try to a little bit explain, then you guys also try to more you can just like mix together, try to a little bit discussion, not say, oh, this is right, this is wrong, but I can understand this way, I can understand this way. This one more makes sense. Because you hear each other more and more, it can stay more your mind. It's more helpful, okay? Okay. Okay, it's good. Then we can do a short dedication. Then you guys do also a little bit more discussion, okay?
Saji perki jukshin me tok tram re rabling jini de gyen pati sangye jing du mingte uwagi drokun nam dag jing la chir parshu jitsun lame kutse rapten jing lam katrin le chok chir gi padang lo sang ten pedre me sasungi drowe mun sel tak tu ne gyur chig edam guru ratna mandalakan niryatayami. His Holiness' long life prayer. In that snow mountain and circled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path, unifies emptiness and compassion to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, beseech me all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. Through this virtue, may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious Supreme Bodhi Mind, may it where unborn arise and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Igmitse waiter chen rezi remaking pe wang ko jong yang gang chen ke pe su gen song ka pa lo sang dra pe ja bla so wa de.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Wonderful night to discuss a little bit more, then a little bit more meditation, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye.